Good evening. Roshane Barnett, the man who pleaded guilty to murdering a mother and her 4 children in Cocoa Peace, Clarendon, has been sentenced to life in prison. Barnett was sentenced this morning in the Supreme Court by presiding judge Justice Leighton Pusey. He will not be eligible for parole until he has served 61 years and 8 months. Barnett was convicted in July on 5 counts of murder in relation to the killing of his cousins, Kemisha Wright, Kimanda Smith, aged 15, Shirley Smith, 12, Rafaela Smith, 5, and 23-month-old Kishawn Henry Jr. The deceased were discovered inside their Cocoa Peace home with chop wounds and their throats slashed on June 21. The post-mortem report revealed that Barnett inflicted a total of 95 knife wounds to his cousins. Barnett, who was living with Kemisha Wright and her children, fled the crime scene on June 21 and was later picked up in Warsop, Trelawney on June 22 during a targeted operation by the police. He later gave a caution statement to the police, confessing to murdering Wright and her children. Now, during his early appearances in court, Barnett pleaded guilty to the 5 counts of murder. Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn, following this morning's sentencing, had this to say while speaking to reporters.
Well, first of all, let me really record my appreciation for the very, very pellucid judgment of the court. It sought to educate, and it sought in a very transparent way to really make it quite clear, one, how the sentencing function of a judge is very, very difficult. But on the other hand, because of where we are in the 21st century, it showed in a very positive way the answer by the judiciary to answer the public, to respond to the public clamor for transparency and to explain. So certainly as Director of Public Prosecutions, I wish to salute the judge and the judiciary that he represents, and also the forward thinking of the Chief Justice, who gave his approval for the live streaming so that the members of the public would have another way, separate and apart from the media, to actually hear from themselves how the system works. I believe the judge was spot on in how he dealt with it. He properly considered the aggravating factors, the mitigating factors. I thought that was the correct starting point according to law. And he answered the call of history when he recognized, as we did, that there was no legal precedent for a case of this nature.
Meanwhile, relatives of the mother and her 4 children killed in Cocoa Peace, Clarendon have expressed disappointment, and also that some justice was served in the sentence handed down to their killer, Roshane Barnett. Kemisha's mother, Gwendolyn Wright McKnight, expressed that she is somewhat satisfied with the verdict by the Supreme Court that Barnett be sentenced to 61 years.
Yeah, because I am a child of God. I did forgive him and I did forgive his mother. So that is why God stood by me in everything and in every doing, because he sees that I am a true child of God. You understand? And I stand up for my right, and this is what I get. I get the justice that I really want to deserve, because Roshane deserves what he gets. You understand? Because when you take up someone in your home, try to feed them, clothe them, get work for them, and this is what they give us. They pay me back in return. He has stabbed me in my back. He has taken away my family, all of my family. Those were my family. You understand? I had the 3 girls that don't know what the next day would come up in life and do. They could be a lawyer, doctor, a teacher, a nurse, you know. The little boy, the only grandson that I really get, my daughter was begging all along to get a little boy, because she said every go she go is only 3 girls. And God bless him with that little boy. No one know the future hold with that little boy. He could become the next prime minister, you know, and he just slashed them away. So from me, sorry. You understand? So he deserved what he get. He deserved. He didn't want to out here to run up and down and be happy. You know? He didn't want to be behind bars, closing. So he just have to bear what he get because he caused it on himself. Nobody told him to do that.
Kemisha's stepfather, Horace McKnight, said 61 years and 8 months before parole is not enough, as he lamented that he has been left without a daughter and his 4 grandchildren.
Well, the sentence I'll work with him, but I was looking for at least 125 because it's 25 is life and it's 5. So I'll work with what the judge said.
Alright, since the tragic has happened, how the family coping?
I was trying to cope in and it's not well enough, but we're trying to cope in. I have to just keep praying to God and go on, safe life can go on same way, and I will try to forget it. You know that this cannot forget. This is a terrible pain right through, so I don't like to remember, but every time I remember them, it's tears from my eyes, so I don't like to remember and I talk about it.
Now, in reacting to today's sentencing, the public was asked how they feel about the time Barnett has been ordered to serve. These are the views of the public.
I'm right now, I'm thinking could I still get more still, but you know, I can go on with that. Because I'm not saying I'm going to lift the plumber out, you know. So I feel it, because I cry this one, I feel it, you know, I feel it. Then try to get more. Right now, it should have back the hanging or death penalty. Like as they finish with him, and those came back at jail and hang him same time, or you know. But God is God, you know. God is God.
God are God, and whatever you sow, you reap. But it's just heart-rending to know that they take down 5 lives at once, like it is nothing. I know what the family is going through. I've lost family members. I'm a mom. I know what it is like to lose a loved one. But as what I said before, just leave everything in God's hand. Because whatever you sow, you will reap. And I just wish them all the best. And that she just remember her daughter in good peace. And just reminisce on the good times that they shared together.
Justice was served somewhat. 61 years and 8 months is a long time, and he won't be eligible for parole. So we can work with that. I can drive them back now to Cocoa Peace, and we're going to rejoice somewhat, because it's better than 45 years. It's a whole lot better than 25 years that he could have gotten, owing to the fact that he pled guilty.
That he shouldn't go on death penalty. I don't feel that he should get sentenced. I feel he has to pay the consequences for that. Because it's 4 children and a mother. They killed 4 kids and a mother. And if you just get sentenced, no, put him on death row and that's it. That's my opinion.
He do, you know. Maybe don't even know what he do. You know, see, you will kill 5 persons, including a little baby, and and use knife and stab them up when you go through. Maybe under some influence or something. I don't know. But you say you get 61 yeyears.
5 life sentence.
5 years, okay. And eligible to 61. Well, I saw the judge see it.
And my little daughter, she big enough, she too. Yeah, my mother have kids. And I say, that man not forget poor people money for him. None at all. And for put him in a place with dark a dungeon and leave him there to suffer. He have no heart. He is very cruel. People like that, we don't want no more violence and cruel people like them in a society to children. Children for grow up and live life. People for live life. If you have argument, you're supposed to learn to quash it down. You're not supposed to learn to go kill, especially a family member. What him thinking in him head? I don't think that man sick. He's demonized.
Continuing with the news tonight, the police in Hanover are using a video showing the brutal slaying of a Chinese businessman to assist them to identify and capture the shooters. It has been reported that the incident took place at 4:45 p.m. yesterday, when 36-year-old He Jing, the operator of a supermarket and wholesale, was fatally shot during a robbery at his establishment in the Just One Plaza in Orange Bay. The surveillance video shows 2 armed men in hoodies entering the establishment as customers milled about. One of the men was dressed in what appeared to be a grey and black hoodie. The other sported a black hoodie with a red mask covering his face. The surveillance video also shows that upon entering the establishment, the men shot at Jing, who was at the cash register. They initially missed, but the businessman was eventually hit and he fell to the ground. The shooter, wearing the mask, shot Mr. Jing several more times as he lay on the floor. A male customer who was at the counter crouched down to the ground in an effort to escape the bullets. It is unclear if he was hurt during the incident. Another customer who placed his head onto a nearby counter in an effort to avoid looking at the shooters was thrown to the floor by the masked man, who then stole liquor and other items. His crony stole what appears to be a large sum of cash from the register. Both men then walked away with their loot.
Let me say condolences to the Chinese national family. We regret what had happened, but just to inform you that investigation in the matter is progressing. We have commenced our investigation, and this will be treated as a priority because we know it affects commerce. Just to say, it's the first incident of this kind of violence that we have in the parish of Hanover against Chinese national. We just want to reassure our citizens and the business committee that we are doing all that we can to ensure that we don't have another attack like this one within the parish. And we are appealing to our citizens to help us to identify the perpetrators in this incident. And just to reassure you, we have so far 3 persons that we have picked up and are in custody at the moment. We do not wish presently to divulge any information because we are at a sensitive stage of the investigation.
In terms of murder in the parish of Hanover, how many numbers are we at this moment?
We are looking at 36 presently versus 34 for the previous year.
The residents in this piece of Green Island and Orange Bay, they feel fearful and are saying that, some of them saying that they feel to close up business. What would you say to them now?
No. I don't think we are at that stage. We don't reach that stage, so don't panic. Situations do happen sometimes, but this is not a stage for you to panic. We are doing everything that we can to put effective measures and strategies in place to prevent a reoccurrence, as I've said before. And we are in direct contact with our superior, who also will facilitate other police personnel within the parish to help us, because we know within the resources might not be enough. So we are looking to increase the resources.
Thank you so much.
And we will bring you more on this developing story in subsequent newscasts. Still making the news tonight, Commanding Officer for Kingston Western Police Division, Michael Phipps, in giving an update on the Zone of Special Operations ZOSO in West Kingston, says compared to this time last year, murders have decreased by more than 50%.
The current situation within the zone is that since the start of this year, we have had some 5 reported murders, and we have had 9 reported shootings. And if you look at the comparative period for the year 2021, we had 13 murders for 2021 up to the 19th of October, and we had 35 shootings up to then. So you see, we are seeing a gradual reduction. And what was even more encouraging was the fact that our last murder occurred exactly 118 days before today, because I know that you might be aware now that we had a murder down in Wellington Street just now. But before that, we didn't have a murder for 118 days.
Continuing with the news tonight, in light of the increased violence currently taking place in educational institutions across the island and the general consensus that it must end, the Ministry of Education launched a multifaceted campaign aimed at addressing the issue. This event will be underscored with the endorsement of several other ministries, agencies, and departments. The event was held at Woolmer's Boys' School in Kingston, and several schools across Jamaica were present. Portfolio Minister Mrs. Favour Williams, who was one of the day's speakers, outlined the objectives of the campaign.
I believe the time is right to add another crucial layer of intervention. So today, I am launching the year-long End Violence in Schools campaign. The purpose of the campaign is to shift the culture of violent confrontations and responses among our children, our students, and to equip them with conflict resolution strategies that are peaceful and healthy. The campaign is also a national call to action for every single Jamaican and organization to support our efforts to engender and sustain a culture of discipline and peace in our homes, our schools, and communities. This initiative combines a multi-stakeholder approach and numerous technological inputs. The specifics are outlined in our press kit, and I'm sure you've gotten some information as well. We have to preserve our schools as safe places for our children. So this initiative is centered on targeted intervention. It is designed to help preserve our school as safe places. So what exactly is Just Medsit End Violence in School campaign? So this year-long campaign seeks to reduce the incidence of violence in schools through a multifaceted approach, by improving the physical infrastructure, by teaching and incentivizing strategies for resolving conflict peacefully, by providing psychosocial support to students and parents, utilizing the creative arts to maximize whole school engagement throughout the campaign, introduction of character education programs in school.
Minister Williams also expressed her displeasure with the recent spike in violent incidents in the schools across the island that have cast the education system in a bad light.
Recently, I hear many persons say to retire. I want to make it known that there will be no hiding place for those who injure and abuse our children. And while I'm happy that the vast majority of the close to 600,000 students who attend over almost 1,000 schools, including almost 3,000 basic and infant schools, that they return home safely every day, I'm not happy at all with the number of incidents which cast our entire school system in a bad light. I'm not happy about that. All of our stakeholders need to feel safe in our schools, and we all sitting here this morning can fix the problem. Experts say if we want to fix a problem, we have to first admit there's one. We have a problem of violence in our schools. And I want that to just sink in. We do have a problem of violence in our schools. Approximately 80% of Jamaican children experience some form of psychological or physical violence administered as discipline. 65% of students are bullied at school. 79% of children witness violence in the home or in the community. And these figures come from UNICEF's situational analysis that was done in 2018. In 2019 alone, 560 persons between the ages of 12 to 19 years were arrested for Category 1 crimes, for murders, for shootings, for rape, for aggravated assault, for robbery, for break-in, for larceny. The reality is many aspects of the violence that is played out on a daily basis in our society are also being displayed in our schools.
She further outlined the changes in the Child Care Protection Act.
The Child Care and Protection Act of 2004 is currently being revised to ensure alignment of its usage to other key legislation for the protection of children, as well as the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, and to outlaw physical punishment of children wherever it happens in Jamaica. We also have the Child Diversion Act of 2018. This was to allow the courts to have new options to deal with children who are alleged as abused of or recognized as having infringed the penal law without resorting to formal judicial proceedings. And our Safe Schools policy is being developed. It is at the green paper stage. You know that the government is also signatory to noted international bodies as a signal of its commitment to provide the best opportunities for our children to grow and develop to their fullest potential in safe and secure environment. We've ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child as far back as 1991. And more recently, we joined the Global Partnership to End Violence Against Children. From this global partnership, a national plan of action for an integrated response to children and violence is being implemented. Notwithstanding the incidence of violence against our children and among our children, it's on the rise.
For his part, Justice Minister Delroy Chuck in his remarks expressed that what is happening in schools is a major problem, and his ministry will work with the Education Ministry to help rid the school system of such violence.
And for the Ministry of Justice, teaming with the Ministry of Education, we see what is happening in the schools as a major problem. Now, it is a fact that we have violence around various communities and students. You have to help us to stem the tide and the cycle of violence. The truth is that violence begets violence. And that is why the Ministry of Justice is working not only with the Ministry of Education in the schools, but we are working with the churches and the communities and the homes to really stem that cycle of violence. Because one act of violence doesn't solve a problem. It oftentimes creates more problems. You get revenge, you get retaliation, and then before you know it, the hospitals have to take care of the victims, and before you know it, the funeral parlors have a victim. In truth, we have to stop it. And that is why the Ministry of Justice is promoting to resolve disputes and conflicts peacefully. We have alternate dispute resolution mechanisms, restorative justice, mediation, child diversion, victim services, and providing legal aid to all. And we will be going across Jamaica as we promote resolving disputes peacefully. No need to use abuse and violence to resolve disagreements.
In other news tonight, 4 security officers employed to Guardsmen Limited are among a group of persons that are being treated in hospital for injuries they sustained in a motor vehicle accident that occurred along the Trial Main Road in Hanover earlier today. Reports coming into our news center are that shortly after midday, the security officer, who was traveling in a minibus owned by Guardsmen Limited, was transporting a large sum of cash from Montego Bay towards Lucy. Upon reaching a section of the Trial Resort rear gate, the minibus collided with a silver Toyota Mark X motor vehicle that was traveling in the opposite direction. The 4 security officers and 2 occupants of the Toyota motor car sustained injuries and were rushed to the hospital where they are being treated. Shortly after the crash, several other Guardsman security officers drove to the scene and secured the cash that was being transported. And those are the stories making news. I am Shellyan Hill. Do stay safe. Pleasant viewing and thanks for watching.